Welcome to another video from earnped.com. I am StevieB. Happy to have you all with us today as we are getting logged in. This is going to be the very first video that I have shot for 2023. So happy new year everyone. I've actually shot other videos, I just have not uploaded them yet. Just to give you guys a little bit of information before we get started today, we are going to talk about the 20th anniversary event, but I feel before we get started I need to explain to you guys why I have not been in game, why I have not been online, why I have not been posting videos and content for y'all. So most of you know 2022 was a very, very hard year for me in real life. I was dealing with a lot of personal issues, a lot of personal battles, a lot of stuff that I had to deal with that I wish I never had to deal with. And obviously at the end of 2022 we had Merry Mayhem, and that was around the clock from the end of November till I believe January 10th. I did get the Red Light Chain finished. All of the stuff that I've been dealing with for over a year now kind of came to a head at the end of December. 2 days after Christmas, somebody who means probably more to me than just about anybody on this planet came very near dying, and it was not good. Needless to say, I spent a lot of time at the hospital. I didn't spend a lot of time sleeping, and it's just a lot, and I have not gotten to tell you guys all the details for various reasons. But most of you know I've just referred to real life for over a year now as my nightmare. And it's a nightmare that has just been worse and worse and worse. And it was like taking a nuclear bomb to the face. It's the only way I can describe the end of 2022. Was literally like taking a nuclear bomb to the face. It was not meant to be survived. Humans are not meant to survive that kind of thing. And it's a lot. But with God's help, I did survive it somehow. That doesn't make it easy, but I survived. And it will get better. This is the part where everything is supposed to turn around. And it's not going to be fast. It's a process. But this is the part where everything is supposed to go good. So for the past month or so, I've been going to work and then trying to deal with life. And there's been a lot of days I couldn't deal with life. There's been a lot of days that I had to simply go to work, come home, and sleep until time to go back to work. So, needless to say, my mental state has been in a bad place. I've been in a bad place. It's been all bad. And I apologize. That's why I wanted to get it out of the way and let you guys know up front, because I don't want you guys to feel neglected either. So, if you guys need to get a hold of me, don't send me a private message in game. Email me, sbraggs62@gmail.com. sbraggs62@gmail.com. That will be the best way to get a hold of me, as I do check that email really, really regularly. So for now, if you need me, get a hold of me via email, sbraggs62@gmail.com. I will try and post content as much as I can. I'm trying to stay on top of things in game as much as I can. All the events that are going on, everything Mindark has planned. Real life has just been a lot. It's been pretty heavy, and when I get to give you guys every little detail, your jaws will drop. There's one or two people in game who know what I've been dealing with over the past year, and one of them actually called me a few days ago and they're like, bro, we just wanted to be sure you're still alive. Like, we know you're dealing with a lot and we wanted to leave you alone to let you cope, but at the same time, are you okay? Like, we know you're not okay, but are you okay? So it's a lot. So that said, let's get to the game. We are celebrating Entropia's 20th anniversary with the TWEN event. As you can see, we've got a lot of mobs spawned that don't typically spawn. So I'm going to start shooting some of these guys over here. These are attackers. They're really, really low level. And the reason I chose attackers, I'm not a fan of this whole shared loot thing. You guys know that. However, attackers generally are not the easiest mob to find. You can usually only find them in lootable PvP. That makes Codex really hard to work on. As you can see, I'm rank 6. Which is very, very low. So this is a good opportunity for me to take out some attackers. There's also some steelbirds, which I haven't really gotten a huge chance to deal with. And we're just going to start shooting. As we're shooting, I'll talk about the event itself. So at the 15th anniversary event, the FEN event 5 years ago, it had a different setup, a setup I liked and a setup in some respects I didn't like. With the FEN event, there were platinum tokens and there were gold tokens, and if you were low level, you could hunt creatures below level 50 and you could get gold tokens in your loot. If you were high level, you could hunt creatures over level 50 and you could get platinum tokens. The tokens could be traded for gear at an NPC, which has been, I believe, at Twin Peaks for about 5 years now. And you knew exactly what you were going for, what all the good weapons were, what all the good prizes were, what all the options were. You knew it all up front in advance. Now, this is different. This harkens back to the older days of Entropia, which, you know, rightfully so, with it being the 20th anniversary event, in the respect that, ooh, short board, that's one of the reasons that you hunt these things. With the respect that this isn't really an event that can be gamed. So if you read the official release from Mindark, it says that a 20th anniversary event item can drop from any mob on any planet and in space. So you don't necessarily have to hunt a specific mob according to the official release. There's no place you particularly have to be. It's just as long as you're hunting, there's a chance that you're going to loot something. Now, if we take that at face value, okay, we could go hunt anything. I have a problem taking that at face value. I have a real problem taking that at face value, and we'll get to that in a second. Let's kill this stillbird real quick. I kind of like the stillbirds. I think they look kind of cool. Plus, whenever they end up dying, they do this nosedive tail spin thing. You'll see. It's kind of cool. There it goes. And tail spin. Boom. So, if we take it at face value, we should be able to go anywhere, hunt anything, and have a chance at a 20th anniversary item dropping. Now, the reason we have all these spawns that are these shared loot robot spawns that are kind of rare is the official lore behind Entropia and Planet Calypso is we had to leave Earth, we had stargates that we were able to use to jump to Planet Calypso, and there was this great robot AI war that went on for us to tame the planet, to be able to take the planet from the robots. There's this really long history of it online. It took me like an hour and a half to read through one day. Somebody really put a lot of thought into it. So this harkens back to the great robot wars and that whole mythos behind Planet Calypso. And that's why they've done all these shared loot spawns of all these robots at all these different places. A lot of the forts, a lot of the camps. And again, I'm not a huge fan of the shared loot thing, but given the fact that I can get me some really easy codex on some attackers, I'm going to take the codex before I bounce out. Now, that said, before we move on to how I think this event actually works, let's look and see if anybody has looted any 20th anniversary items recently. And I don't know, you guys will be the first to see this along with me. No new items for the past 24 hours. So somebody did get a Omegaton M2870 improved TWEN edition, because they've got it to tier 2 now. The Fireforge DAR 9300 TWEN, that was a few days ago. I was not on when they looted it, but I was on shortly after. So I also know that an improved, or not improved, I'm sorry, improved, that would be amazing. Not an improved, an adjusted Justifier MK2 TWEN was looted the other day. It had 31.9 DPS and 75.4% efficiency, I think. So pretty, yeah, stats for lower level players, mid-range. But it was pretty impressive. So that said, there hasn't been just a ton of 20th anniversary stuff dropping, but there has been some. And again, I've only been on a few times, but I saw the Fireforge, the Justifier, and now I guess we've got the Omegaton to add to it. So, like I said, the official release says that you can hunt any mob, any planet, anywhere, and that includes space. Here's why I have a problem with that. I know that mobs have loot pools. This is a fact. We know this to be a fact. And that makes the official announcement really hard for me to swallow. That would mean that they would have had to have come up with a completely separate algorithm, and they would have had to essentially set it to drop TWEN items for almost like your customer 900 walking through the door, kind of a similar thing. They would have had to have made a completely separate algorithm to drop these TWEN items based off the looting event number. So if they know that there's, let's say, 10 million looting events a day on average, and it can peak at 12 million looting events a day. They would have had to make a separate loot algorithm that says drop a twin item every 28 millionth looting event, or every 36 millionth looting event. See what I'm saying? Versus we know that mobs have loot pools specific to that mob, where they go in and they will occasionally adjust the loot pool, and they will add and take things away. For example, we know that Foul, forever and always, drop purple paint and foul bones, right? They could go in, they could adjust that, and they could change it to orange paint, but it's not an accident. It's because the Foul has a very, very specific loot pool with very, very specific items in it. We saw this at Crystal Palace back with the very first ever Mini Mayhem. All they did for the quote-unquote Mini Mayhem was go in and they hit the both of the mobs that were at Crystal Palace. They hit loot pool, add item, Mayhem token. Chances of drop, X. Add item, rare Mayhem token, chances of drop, Y. And that was it. That was all they had to do to set up the Mini Mayhem event. That was it. And then they had to increase the spawn rate. But, that's beside the point. So, knowing that, I find it very, very difficult to believe that they made a completely separate algorithm just to drop twin items at certain intervals, or to give them a chance of dropping at certain times. I think what is much more likely and realistic is they created all the twin items. They had them all planned out. They had them all created. They know how many there are. They haven't told us how many. They haven't told us how many there are, what they are, the specs on them. But we can make a guess that there's some weapons, there's some armor, some stuff like that. And they went in and they said, okay, this mob, this mob, this mob, this mob, this mob, we're going to add one item to the loot pool. So we're going to add this item to this mob's loot pool, this item to this mob's loot pool, so on and so forth. And I do think they probably added an item to a space mob's loot pool, just like they did a while back. There was somebody that got one of the leftover 10 items from the 10th anniversary event. It was an RK0 Unlimited from a space mob. I think they probably went into each of the planet partners loot pools and probably added it to a mob on each of the planets, so there is a chance to get something on Arcadia, there is a chance to get something on Rocktropia, there is a chance to get something on Next Island, but it's because it's in that mob's loot pool. Now here's the problem: we don't know which mobs, we don't know which loot pools to be looking for, we don't even know which items we're after, we don't even know what's available, we don't know the specs, we don't know any of that. So because of that, if this event is fun for you, if you like doing these shared loot events, or if like me you want to just take some time to knock back some quick codex on something you don't normally get to hunt, or do an interesting hunt with some friends, that's fine. But I really can't give you guys advice on how to game the system, because we don't know how to game the system. Short of having some inside information from the development team at Mindark, there's really no way to do it. So because of that, my advice is simply this: don't change your playstyle because of this event. If you get lucky and happen to be one of those lucky few, very few, that is going to loot a 20th anniversary item, that's great. It's going to be a moment to remember. You're never going to forget it. However, if you think you're going to be able to log into the game and go loot 20th anniversary items and just do it because you're good and know what you're doing, I find that very, very hard to believe. And if you're that good, you need to get a hold of me ASAP and we need to talk. So because of that, I really won't be changing my playstyle, other than the fact that I'm going to knock out these attackers and get to rank 7. That's about it. Because I don't even know what I'm after. What if I spent, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and even if I knew which mob I was after, but then I get an item, the item might be amazing, or it might be complete crap. That's just how it goes. Now, generally speaking, the event items like 10th anniversary, 20th anniversary, they're usually pretty decently good compared to everything else. Now, the SGA items might not be so great now, or the 10 items might not be so great now, but at the time, they were rocking it. Well, like the stats that I've seen, even from that adjusted MK2 twin, 75.4% efficiency, 31.9 DPS, pretty decent stats. Not the best stats ever, but pretty decent. for where we are right now today. So that said, if you're one of the lucky few who has that moment that you'll never forget where you do loot one of those items, great. But short of us getting more information from Mindark, I just don't see how you can game this type of an event. We don't know what we're after. We don't know what we need to be hunting. I do not believe they created a secondary loot pool. I believe they know exactly how many TWEN items were created. I believe they then went into specific loot pools and added an item here, added an item there, and it's just a matter of somebody hunting the right thing at the right time and the right looting event happening and it dropping. You could be hunting the correct mob all day long and still not trigger the looting event that drops the TWEN item and think that you're hunting the wrong mob. I do not believe that they created a second algorithm to just randomly drop TWEN items. Now, I could be wrong on that. That could be absolutely incorrect. And if there's any other players out there that actually, really know their stuff, Messy, if you want to chime in on this, Eve, if you want to chime in on this, feel free. Hulk, if you want to chime in on this, feel free. If there's anybody that wants to argue this and say, no, that's really how they do it, is they just create a separate algorithm. You know what? If you guys are more in the know than me on that, cool. I'll take your word for it. But personally, for me, I just don't see them doing that. I see them going into loot pool, add one here, go into loot pool, add one here, and that really means that this is kind of just a crapshoot. So enjoy the game, enjoy playing, have some fun hunting stuff that you don't normally get to hunt, but don't try and game the system because I just don't think it's conceivable with an event like this. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because we do have a lot of events that unfortunately have been gameable and have been gamed by players who have made it less enjoyable for others. So I'm glad to see that they're doing something a little bit different. So that being said, I'm going to leave it there for today. That kind of gets you guys caught up. Again, if you need me for now, holler at me through email sbraggs62@gmail.com. I will be checking that fairly regularly, and I'll try and have more content for you guys very, very soon. For now, sip, sip, smack, smack. Y'all know the rest. Hit the subscribe and bell icon because obviously that is a great help. That helps us get more exposure, gets these videos in front of people who don't normally play Entropia, and because of that, we're able to get more people into the game. That's good for everybody, as well as for us. Also, be sure and head over to earnped.com because when you earn, we earn. By far the best way you guys can support us. So we'll leave it for there, and we'll see y'all with more content later this week. Take care, guys.